All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks for taking the time out of your Friday after the holidays. Hopefully, everybody had a restful couple weeks off and, um, just enjoy the time with your families and kind of a refresh to 2022. Real quick, any New Year's resolution? Anybody get that? Nope. You hear me? Hello?
I can hear you now.
All right.
But
My phone was tying into I was just saying, anybody have any New Year's resolutions that they want to share before we get into what we're doing?
just make it to the next day.
That good, huh? All right. Well, I guess
I'm succeeding. Making it to the next day.
There you go. 4:15 and 5:15 degree weather doesn't sound fun though. So, all right. Map 21's right around the corner, February 7th. Everybody registered and ready to go. Any questions about that? Any trainers that have kind of struggled with getting through the process or kind of getting their material ready to go? Anybody want to share what they've been doing or what they've, you feel like you're in a good spot as far as that deadline goes?
Karma. We have to sit and look at it, make sure everything's coming across. Make sure we're teaching all the subjects.
Did you guys get set up as a training facility?
Oh yeah,
got registered.
Yeah, there was nothing to that really.
Yeah, it seemed pretty straightforward.
Yeah, put in the site, and I didn't see a place yet where we could register our trainers. Just the site, unless they've updated it. I'll have to go look. But Stephanie's shaking her head no.
Steph, do you want to talk to that a little bit, just on what you might know? You're kind of the guru in the room, I think.
Patrick, you don't have to register trainers. It's not about individual trainers. It's about your site. So you can have 10 trainers and they're all going to use the same site number. So if you've done everything else, you're probably done. Yeah.
Anybody else had run into any issues just as far as anything, any questions? Have you had the chance to review the material that the trust has put out, whether on the trust website or what they shared, or it's also available on the TAA website right now? Did anybody adopt that or take and just kind of, hey, we're going to take this and completely use it? Brian, you look a little puzzled. Do you want to share what you guys are doing at Phoenix Union?
No puzzle. I was going to say something, but so yeah, I think now that they're getting down to where we're actually being able to register and upload material and everything, I think it's a lot simpler than what we were expecting. I think maybe the one thing that we did, I don't know if other districts are doing it or not, but they require just one email address. So we got a hold of our IT and set up a Phoenix Union Transportation that all of our trainers have access to, so that we can send and receive or upload and download material through that one email address.
Well, I'm just curious, what was your workaround for the when you did the main email and it asked you for kind of that two-step verification? Were you guys just using one of somebody's cell phone within the department in order to get that code to be able to log in, or did you do one of the printed off codes?
I'm not sure. My trainer set it up, but I think we just did it through the email, because we got the registration confirmation come directly to the email address that we set up.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I just had to go to my cell.
Yeah, I mean, I took a question from somebody last week regarding that, and I pointed them to the printout of the 10 codes. And then their question was like, well, how do we get new ones? And I further read that you can they'll send you a new fresh set of 10 codes once your existing codes, I guess, run out or expire. So I think it was just trying to, if you were to leave, Patrick, then how do they get in and put a new cell phone in type of thing when they go to register?
There might have to be a severance payment.
You hold that domain hostage.
They could just find him frozen, stuck to the bus, in the morning. So is everybody for the most part feels pretty good that will be in compliance by the 7th, at least of this group that's here.
We're pretty confident.
Thelma saying thumbs up. Karma?
I have a Margaret, so I know we're good.
Yeah, there you go. Ron, how are you holding up in Yuma?
We're doing good. We're like, as far as what you were talking about, we're all in line for that already, like you were talking about. So, but COVID's hit us pretty hard down here. A lot of people out and a lot of people sick.
Yeah, it's definitely going around. I guess maybe that's a good segue into the employee burnout side, right? Just how many people, I know we keep talking about this, just kind of a welfare check-in. Thelma was sharing earlier that she's in a good place, but I know several others are, 20, 30 drivers out or more or less. That they're just, it just seems like this wave is really just pushing through and, kind of taking people down. So kind of curious just to hear what everybody's doing to combat that on a daily basis. I know that Patrick's motto, I think it's good, just take it one day at a time, and certainly been there. And I guess in some regards I feel a little bit sorry that I can't participate in that with you guys a little bit, but at the same time, sorry not sorry. So
we take it just a day at a time too. That's about all we can do.
Yeah,
every day there are like 3 or 4 more new cases, so just as you get some coming back to work off those quarantines, another several go out. It's really going around right now, I think worse than ever.
Thelma, what's going on at Glendale?
Struggle. I was out last week. It's the second time that I've had it. And so we're just, if I didn't have my maintenance staff that had CDLs, I don't know what we would be doing. But thank God we have that at each of our sites. So we're able to pull and utilize them whenever needed.
Patrick, you want to talk a little bit about what's going on up in Flagstaff?
Well, we sat down and we developed basically our route cancellation list and the order we were going to cancel routes. First day back off a break, I happened to have a mechanical issue on the bus I was on, so we made phone calls to those students. They ended up getting a ride somewhere else or some other way, but not with the bus that morning. I believe Tuesday we canceled another route that was kind of a small route, and then last week we canceled the route in the afternoon. So basically I just have my list of what's going to get cut because I don't have drivers, and notify the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and nobody said anything about it. So 70 students who had to get alternate rides home, but we tried to base it off of distance from the school. So who had the least amount out of the way they had to go to actually pick their students up. And then we kind of also looked at demographics of the neighborhood, so we didn't, cut the least well-off neighborhoods first. We tried to cut neighborhoods that are a little more well off, you know, they're more likely to have a car, more likely to be able to take their students to and from school. So, but so far I've only had to do that once, but we're like right at the edge almost every day. Funny thing though, I got a new applicant, retired from the Marine Corps forever ago, retired from his second career a few years back. And he saw the news story about the FBI agent, the fourth in command or whatever he was, that decided to go drive school bus, and thought maybe he should come drive school bus too. So it turned into a recruiting tool for me.
Awesome. We're short routers. One of our routers, Tracy, our special needs router, she passed away in November. So that was sad. And then our other router is out with COVID now too. And she's been out for a very long time. And no one is cross-trained for any of those routing positions. And we haven't been able to fill it yet. So we're kind of really slow on getting these new STRs coming in for kiddos and even our regular ed, our gen ed students on buses, having a very hard time with that.
I just got my system finally automated so that we pull from Synergy on a nightly basis. If the students are able to be automatically geocoded and routed, they are, and following day, they're back into the student information system, and the schools can see which buses and which routes the students are on. Only applies to gen ed so far, but that's been like a 10-year project that finally got moving.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I've been working on the same thing, and it's been difficult to get everybody together, especially in the past 2 years with COVID. It's as difficult as it is just to get in contact with somebody, but to get the TransFinder people and the Synergy people together, along with the district IT people, it's really kind of a mouse chase, you know, trying to get everything together.
Yeah, those are the products we use here, TransFinder and Synergy. Synergy for us is outsourced with ETC, the Educational Technology Consortium. But I created my own imports and exports with TransFinder, and then they worked on the Synergy side to get their piece. So it's finally working, like I said, but it's taken me a while to get all of those people on the same page, and the email chains go forever. So
what do you do with the gen ed? Because even up to now, we do not get names, addresses, anything for gen ed. We just establish stops at the beginning of the year and then modify through the first 2 or 3 weeks of school. Do you have an opt-in letter or a letter that you send out at the end of the year or the beginning of the year?
So through our online registration, we required parents to put in a request for transportation. So essentially they're checking a box. Next year, the box, when they request transportation, will also require them to accept the bus rules. So we're getting that information out of Synergy. So student names, you know, ID numbers, addresses, all of that. So we're pulling all of that in and using that in order to determine where our stops need to be.
Yeah, that makes it so much nicer.
Brian, you don't have an actual like active roster of who rides the bus or who doesn't?
Not for gen ed, no.
It's similar to how Phoenix L used to run when I first took it over. So I don't know what they're doing now, but my setup at Kyrene was very much similar to what Patrick does. We would basically import everybody and assign them to the bus. So that way, you know, a lot of our buses, and probably Patrick might see this a little bit too, just tend to see that they're overloaded, right? You might have 100 kids on a bus, but you only have 50 kids that are riding. So I think that's where that piece comes in of trying to get a actual letter or something that they identify during registration that they opt in or sign up for the bus. But that was definitely a struggle, something that we were working on kind of pre-COVID, during COVID, trying to figure out like how we could, because, you know, it really kind of reared its ugly head when we were having school lockdowns, you know, and we'd have to go in and get a group of kids and say, hey, this bus is going to be delayed by an hour. And we're calling parents and they're saying, my kid doesn't even ride the bus, right?
Yeah.
They're scheduled for the bus, but, you know, they haven't ridden the bus in ever. So, you know, I think there's, to your point, you know, both Patrick and Brian's I think the more that, you know, transportation and the routing companies can try and advocate for the transportation departments to say, hey, you know, the IT teams and the student information teams, they all need to be kind of on the same page and understand like this can happen, right? Obviously Patrick's figured out a way, and I think more of the district should be leaning on each other to try and figure out how to make, if one district made it work, how can we figure out how to implement the same thing? And so maybe Brian's teams can be talking to Flagstaff's teams to figure out like how they made that work, since you guys have very similar programs that you're using. So, Karma, what routing program are you using there in Dysart?
We use Versatrans.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. I know there's a couple. I don't know if Versatrans offers it, but there's a few other companies that offer like third-party routing that are available that you might, you know, temporarily look into to see if they might be able to offset that assistance for you guys for the time being until you get a router back.
Good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, and we, you know, I started as a driver and a dispatcher and a router and all of that. So I've kind of done each of those pieces, and I've got several people that have at least touched the routing software. Sometimes they don't necessarily touch each piece, but
right.
Yeah, not having that cross training that would kill us.
You can bet we will be cross training now.
Absolutely. Good lessons to go forward.
Yes.
You got not offering activity trips. What do you mean by that, Jason?
So just like you know, people that are either in this short staff, you know, there's a lot of I was just curious if any districts have said, you know, you need to outsource your own, you know, athletics or your own field trips or your own whatever, like that. We just don't have the staff to be able to handle that. So what maybe some districts might have figured out how to do, you know, or if any districts from the leadership down have just stepped in and said, you know, because of COVID and because of our, you know, our staffing issues, we're not going to be doing this right now. Right. I feel like kind of the beginning of COVID was there were no field trips because you couldn't go anywhere type of thing. But now, you know, we're kind of back into the, you know, school is still running as, you know, as close to operational or normal as possible. So everybody's trying to figure that out. I know there's a couple districts that are really struggling with just handling the workload that they're getting in, because it's basically a normal, you know, as if COVID didn't even exist, and they're getting really beat over the head by, you know, drivers not having enough drivers to cover routes, but then throwing on athletics and field trips and, you know, the midday shuttles and all the other stuff that goes along with it. You know, just curious if any districts had said, hey, we're going to go ahead and put a big pause on this right now. And, you know, does that mean AIA isn't going to run? Does that mean, you know, more white buses for activity use, or parents having to drive their kids to and from practice or games or anything like that, where, you know, people just getting creative to try and help out with the shortage?
Well, as far as our midday shuttles, those kinds of things, we're doing those kind of on a case by case basis. You know, do we have enough drivers? You know, who's out sick today? Those kinds of things. Our activities or our AIA or athletics, we've been outsourcing for years. Unfortunately, I'd really like to get back to where we have those in-house because of the cost. But as far as athletics, we're not seeing a ton of difference there. But I am looking to kind of change my mindset a little bit and hire some people who only do trips, because then I've got at least a body that's going to drive those trips, you know. And I'm getting past the attitude of you're a school bus driver first, a student bus driver first, because I've lost drivers over that in the past. And so now I'm still down that same driver. I'm still at that route is still open. And the only thing for me is just change that attitude a little bit, have somebody who wants to work 15 to 30 hours a week, but doesn't necessarily want to drive to and from school.
That helps. But we have that here. Currently I have 10 activity drivers, and that is all that they do. Most of them are retired and they don't routes, but it sure is a blessing. They don't receive benefits or anything. They know that coming in. So it's a game changer for sure.
It took me a while to realize that too. Like, better to have that 10 to 15 to 30 hour driver to drive those, because it saves the department and the district money in the long run, and takes a little bit of that stress off where we're trying to find, you know, a driver to drive a trip on a Saturday who's already done a 40-hour week. I'll say 40 hours, so we stay at
Anybody else? Brian or Karma or even Ron, talk about a little bit about field trips, or you know, anybody not running routes. Patrick talked a little bit about that, or getting close to having to do that. Anybody else want to share what they're running into?
We have been outsourcing a lot, but we're finding that some of the people that we outsource to, those companies, are faced with the same kind of things we are. And so sometimes we can't even get somebody, you know, to come in and be able to do it. We have right now, four dedicated field trip routes, but they're 8-hour employees. And so if we are short a driver and there's no field trip, they do come in and cover routes. We have substitute driver positions, and those positions aren't benefited, and it's not required to work at least 30 hours. So they can pretty much tell us their schedule. And a lot of those are the ones who do our field trip only for us. But it's just short. It's short everywhere. When we have those shortages, the AIA had to go no matter what, but we do have schools and community added and things like that with field trips that have been really generous in rescheduling them or canceling them, because we just don't have a driver to cover it at that time of day. So we're very thankful for their ability to be flexible.
Yeah, same here. We haven't had any really trouble covering trips yet. We limit the times for the schools that they can be picked up and can be returned. They have to adhere to those pretty tightly. We're getting really tight on the routes. We've been mostly able to cover by splitting up and sharing among drivers, but you know, it takes its toll on the drivers that are here. You know, people are starting to get that frustration and you know, a little bit of agitation is starting to show up between drivers and aides. You know, there's maybe getting a little snippy here and there. But you know, yeah, I lose one or two more, it's going to be at the point where you know what, we're just going to have to take one group and go back and get another, and school time is going to be missed. And we've already been discussing that with administration so that we have a communication ready to go out, that in the event that does happen, that we can get ahead of it and let everybody know ahead of time, you know, this is the best we can do.
Yeah, our plan was kind of like that the beginning of the year where we did, when we notified everyone about their transportation assignments, we did say, if we get overloaded in some of these neighborhoods, we'll have to stop at the stop we're at and take those students to school, come back for the rest, kind of thing. But that's just so hard to juggle that, like I said, we got to the point where every single CDL driver who is here is driving. And so if one more is not here, something has to give. And so that's why we sat down and did that. I was going to say something else. As far as burnout, I contacted my district, like the Title IX officer, but they're kind of, the employee, they do the crisis counseling and things like that. I've had a counselor in here since like early November. They're doing group counseling, and also kind of taking a big picture too of, how do we kind of change the whole climate and culture, but then how do we, make sure that some people are being better taken care of than they felt like they were being taken care of before. Mute it, Jason.
Am I?
I don't know why. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Let's speak up.
Yeah.
Hello? I was just saying, I think it's a really good idea, getting a counselor in there to, give people an opportunity just to talk about what's going on, right? Rather than them kind of, bantering with each other in the lounge, that gets pretty negative at times, and they start to question all the decisions that we're making as leaders and whatnot, and, feel that they're not being communicated to. I think at least it gives them an opportunity to constructively talk somewhere versus just being, pretty negative about it. I we're almost 2 years into this, right? So, kind of hard to believe that we're still talking about it almost 2 years later, but it's crazy, that's for sure. So I think that's a really good idea, and I'm sure there's health coaches and other things that districts have available to them that I'd definitely encourage everybody to to reach out and take advantage of, to see if they can pop in and give sessions to their people. So good on you.
And I was honestly worried about a couple of my drivers getting real close to the edge where I don't want to be the next school district that has the story of the bus driver who walked away from a bus full of kids.
Sure.
Did not want to see that. So that was part of the reason I reached out, and I think it's helping. But being flexible sometimes with people, just I've got one driver have to constantly tweak what their assignments are, just to make sure that we're not pushing too hard.
For sure. Anybody else got anything on kind of burnout, just how you're feeling? I know that people are up super early, probably working 12, easy 10-12-hour days, right? I mean, and how do you decide what gets done, right? How do you, I'm sure you guys have work that's piling up and not getting addressed, and, just kind of an opportunity to just talk a little bit about what you do for yourself. If that's, I know one of my previous colleagues just kind of got to a point where it was like, hey, I'm driving every day, so I'm going to take a couple-hour lunch in the middle of the day and just go home and just take, kind of almost be like a glorified bus driver, right? Just to maintain some level of sanity, and having to drive and be available super early in the morning, and then, probably not closing the shop down until 6:30 at night, right? It's just taking that time for yourselves to kind of mentally get away from everything. So anybody taking kind of those mental breaks?
It's called Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
That's what your employer wants you to say, right?
Actually, we've been doing a lot of employee morale things, like a T-shirt of the week. We did a bus rodeo on the last Friday, and they seemed to get all their frustrations out in the rodeo. It was fun. A lot of participation. So I think with all the stuff and yourself, I mean, it was a lot of work, but we got everybody to participate and they had something fun instead of just delivering kids and worrying about COVID. So it seemed to work for everybody.
Yeah, I saw that AAPT came out with a message saying that bus rodeo would unfortunately be canceled again this year, potentially moving it into fall, depending on just what things now of COVID looks like. So, Hilma, you want to talk to that a little bit since you're part of that group?
That's why we did one for ourselves. Yeah, and we're all together all the time anyways, but we all wore masks and I mean, we were safe. We had disinfectant and we disinfected the buses and everything, but I'm not sure when that was scheduled for, but I know pretty much everything that, you know, drivers can do has been canceled. Yeah.
The rodeo was scheduled for March the 12th at the fairgrounds, and we still have not received confirmation from the fairgrounds. One of the things that, in looking at our membership and what was going on all around us with the Navajo Nation, the numbers are climbing steadily again, and they're on pretty much lockdown and have went back to online learning at all of their schools. So their transportation, all of their requests to go places have been canceled. So we just have to look at the whole big picture and came to the conclusion that, you know, for everybody's safety, we just felt that it's best that we, but believe me, we're all ready to get back out there. We going on 2 years that we haven't been able to do anything, and we know our membership, they miss that, and we miss it just as much. So we're going to be meeting in March and putting our heads together and see what we can do. Come October, hopefully this is going to be gone. That's what I'm hoping for, and that we can get back to some normalcy, if there's even such a word, you know.
Probably won't be for some time, unfortunately, but yeah, transition. It looks like 100th day is pretty much here or right around the corner. Anybody have their 100th day of school yet?
Next Monday.
Next Monday.
We're working on ours right now.
Working on it.
Ours was last week.
Last week. So anybody been into the new login for the ADE portal? Yeah, Ron.
Yeah, I have. It's pretty simple, straightforward. I think it's a little bit better than, you know, it was in the past. I think it'll be a good change. Easier to navigate.
That's good. The if you're anxious about it, the trust will be putting on a webinar on Monday to go through those changes and kind of do some helpful tips and reminders. So if you're interested, email me and I can send you the link to register for that webinar on Monday. It's gonna be at 10 o'clock. So, but yeah, I mean, it's here, right? We're ready and ready to go. Brian, you got something?
No, I was just saying, put me on that list.
Oh, okay, sure. Yep. The trust. Stephanie says the trust is in me and Brian Lockery. Yes, Brian Lockery. For those of you that know who Brian is, if you don't know who Brian is, he was with ADE prior to working as a director of business services for Queen Creek and currently at Kyrene. So he was pretty instrumental in setting up most of the kind of the new guidelines on how we are to give our material to the state. So we're going to be going over that and kind of showing the video that the ADE put together. They've got a little YouTube video that they posted on what to look for and kind of how to navigate things. So talk a little bit about that and hopefully answer any questions for anybody that wants to be a part of that. So, yeah. Any other questions about 100-day report? Patrick, you got anything?
I was just going to say, it looks like my 100th day is Monday. So time to double check my spreadsheets.
There you go. Sounds good. Do most of you have district auditors that come in on an annual basis and kind of look at your past information?
Most of the time they don't know what they're looking at, but yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. How about take a few minutes just for any open comments, open session to anybody that got anything they want to talk about? Quiet group.
Small group.
Well, if nobody's got anything, I guess in the interest of time, maybe for this group, would you guys prefer, or would this group prefer if we start meeting kind of bi-monthly instead of, every other month, bi-monthly instead of monthly? I mean,
I like the monthly.
Monthlies, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I like monthly. I missed the last one that we had, but yeah, I get so much information. I kind of need it monthly.
Okay. No, yeah, I mean, well, I think we're happy to do them. I just, we don't want to feel that they're too redundant or too, just take, people have things going on and a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. So we can
break in the day once a month to get together with other transportation administrators and I think it helps me getting together. You're talking about, how do you not do burnout, or what do you do for yourself? These kinds of things where you can get together and hear what other districts are doing, and you're not alone, and it's helpful to me. So this is what I do.
Monthly is good, yes, because I might not put my input a lot, but what you guys share and the different comments that you make, it does really help us a lot too.
I like the monthly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to keep the monthly going, so we'll just, like I said, wanted to double check on what everybody's thoughts on that were. So I think it looks like our next one would be then probably, been shooting for the third Friday, so February 18th might not, let's see. Friday the 18th work for everybody?
For me.
Jason, I think that's President's Day recess, the 18th.
Maybe for some, I'm sure the actual holidays that Monday, so you get the title also.
Yeah, ours is the 21st.
Yeah, I mean, we could do feel like the 18th, we'll target the 18th, and then I think somebody else will likely be running this, but we'll see. I think Stephanie and I have a ASBO transportation class to go to on that day. So, but we'll put something out, keep an eye on your email with the updated time and date for February will come up. Again, if you guys email us, we're gonna, just a little bit of update on the TAA side. We've got some changes to the website coming, and we're going to be releasing early registration here probably right around the 14th of February for the summer conference. So there'll be some information up there and kind of new email addresses to help your IT departments whitelist. So we're making sure that we're not getting things blocked and whatnot. So just keep an eye out to your email for that. In the meantime, you can always email TAA if you have questions or you have things that want to be shared or whatnot. You know, just things that you want either added to the agenda. Hey, I have this problem. We can openly discuss it. I think, you know, there's a lot that we get from hearing how things are being handled, right? I mean, I learned a lot just on what, you know, Patrick's school district was willing to kind of address as far as the driver shortage was, or, you know, or is, and how they're working around that. I think the more, at least it seems to me, the way that we came together at the beginning of all of this stuff when we started these was that everybody started to kind of formulate a similar opinion, and we were all sharing that information, right? We were able to take it back to our district leadership and say, hey, like, this is what our partners or our neighbors are doing, right? And we're able to kind of formulate a similar stance. And so I think that, you know, whatever those issues are that you guys are having, you know, share those either openly or, hey, I want to be anonymous, but throw this question in the agenda and throw it out to the group and see, you know, see if anybody's addressed it. We're happy to do that. So just, you know, letting you guys know that we're here on behalf of TAA. Steph and I are here on behalf of the trust. So however, you know, whatever we can do to help and, you know, kind of get you guys through this, we're here and willing to do that. So, okay. All right, we'll get you out of here 10 minutes early. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you guys next month. All right.
See you next month.
Bye.